I always was interested in business. I never saw myself as a business guy. I was an Army soldier. So my brother was a SF officer. He had transitioned out, was working here at Fort Belvoir, working on getting cell phones, like iPhone certified for the DoD networks. And he had a friend that he was working with that I would call the mad scientist. Incredibly intelligent, knows a lot about encryption and authentication. So all this started coming together a little bit, and I looked at what my brother was doing, and I said, look, here's the kind of the approach you have to take with this. And so that really established this particular venture I'm involved with called InvisiData. It's all about certifications, okay? Yes, it's nice to have a degree, okay? You can get a degree in psychology, but when it comes down to the IT world, what we look for is certifications. So, because to me it comes down to relationships and how that works out. So in terms of lessons learned, just tuck that away in the back of your mind. Who you know and who they know. You log on to a website and you see HTTPS, okay? What you're doing is your computer is registering itself with a network server. Okay. So that you can send your credit card information encrypted, right? And only that server can unencrypt it. Okay. So when you said HTTPS, what happens is that server on that website sent your computer a credential. Okay. So that even yourself, when you encrypt your credit card and you send it back, you can't unencrypt that transmission. Only that server that sent you that credential, okay? So back in the day, this is 20th century technology. That's why there's so many problems at Target right now, okay? Because there was through their billing, very sophisticated, but there was a credential that was compromised that some hackers got hold of, and they were able to put it into, in a general sense, the target network. The magnetic strips are all 20th century that you have right here, these things on the back of your card. They're holding personal, identifiable information that when you swipe, no one cares if this is you really using this credit card, right? They just want to know through a third party that this information is good. Your account's paid up to date and it's a valid card. Very 20th century, very elementary. It's been around about 40 years. Now this is using the best encryption that's out there on the market right now, right? So as a hacker, you want to know what's your vulnerabilities, you look and you say, okay, these are the type of tools. If you get into cybersecurity, you want to become an ethical hacker, you get exposed to all these different types of tools. They now know it's a JPEG file. This is encrypted, right? Well, I'm familiar with JPEG files. I know I can use this tool and this technique in order to use brute force hacking as an example to crack that encryption. Or by pinging and putting some of your software tools, the amount of time it responds to a certain inquiry, you know what type of encryption is it's being used. This is using our technology. You can't even tell it's a bit level file, a JPEG file at the bit level, an OEM business model, original equipment manufacturer. So we would like to partner with Intel, who we've reached out to through a contact from a friend that just transitioned as Intel's emerging market director. Yeah. Once again, relationships. Now what they're talking about is this. You know, these are called tokens. You're putting credentials on these tokens right here, right? So when you put it in, you actually have your own authentication and encryption that goes forward also. So it helps secure your information and protect your information from getting compromised. Next thing I know, I feel this tugging on my elbow. And I turn around. And this lady, venture capitalist, I think her name was Kathy, asked us, what problem are we solving? And we're like, well, you know, it's a the problem is that right now everyone's using usernames and passwords. She goes, that doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, she was hard as nails, you know. And so I come in, I said, well, you know, the challenge is with the current authentication, the public key infrastructure. No, stop right there, young man. Oh, excuse me. What problem are you solving? Finally, my brother goes, I got it. The current authentication encryption methods are outdated. She goes, that makes sense. Okay. Finally, at this one forum, that's where, through the School of Hard Knocks, we finally realized, eureka, it goes off. So there's going to be lots of starts and different approaches that you're going to take to really get at the essence of what your idea is. And believe it or not, encryption is considered a munition. It's a class 3 munition. You know? So there's export laws against it. Then, you know, also with the Patriot Act, you're going to get hit, just like the telephone companies did in the beginning and what you're reading about in the paper right now with trying to secure networks. How much is the government? It's a balancing act, okay? And this thing has been going on since the late 1990s. So what you're seeing in perspective right now emerge is an ongoing discussion. And you can look at the bills at Congress or the acts that they try to impose. So we looked at the technology. I'm sitting down talking to a very smart investor. And these questions, because you really have to do a lot of research and know. And it's okay to say you don't know something, but I make a note of it. And then I go back whenever I'm talking to somebody to go research that. Any opportunity I get to pitch in my briefcase, I carry around a pitch, you know. And I'll just start talking to people. I've taken an old cell phone, because we're talking about putting software on a chip, right? So and it's always good to have your props ready. So I'm like, yeah, you know, glad there's a time limit here, because last night I needed to get this as an example. And we're talking about a chip like this. And I took it out of our printer from my wife's office. So I hope she's not going to try to print this morning while I'm here pitching this to you guys. Because I got to get back home. I got to get this back in her printer in her office. Initially, what we were looking at is going with the Department of Defense. Because you always revert back to where your comfort zone is. You know, and I transitioned after writing a desk in the Pentagon for 3 years. You know. So DoD, we did the market analysis and looked at it. It's about a $13 billion market. DoD, the federal government, the State Department a little bit, but primarily DoD is the biggest consumer of encryption, also authentication credentials. So and I went to a breakfast and we heard the federal government talking about laws and what was coming down the pike. This is way before Target. And the number one priority for cybersecurity in the nation is the finance and banking systems. You know, just by luck, one of our partners who has done previous patent work used to work in that area for the banking. We got about 40% of our software done. We're bringing on interviewing software developers that are going to work for equity, and we can complete the software. We got enough now for a demo to run, and can do some basic encryption. But you got to connect the software to the front end user interface, the type of things that you see on the screen right now. When I talk about the management team, there's two other brothers, the geniuses, that actually this was their initial idea and had the patent rights that we initially acquired to. And then Andrew and Michael. There's myself and my brother Pat, and then one of my best friends, David Walker, that is involved with this in terms of the partners. Andrew, the mad scientist guy, helped establish VeriSign. It was recently purchased by Symantec, and they just moved out here to Reston.